Hello, 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 and welcome to another Win Daily Sports Show. My name is Michael Brazil. I got my man Sia Najat here with me, and we are joined once again by the living legend, the incredible Tip 11. Think your name's Eric, but honestly, I have zero idea because I just call you by your Twitter name, Tipton. How you doing today, man?
Great, guys. Appreciate the second round here. Happy to do it. Looking
We had
forward
a
to it.
blast the first time, so you know what? Let's run it back. Sia, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm just still like so elated that this football season is going through all of its motions. So let's talk sports for the next hour and a half.
I feel like it's going to be a little bit of a longer one. There are no buys again, which more time I get to spend with Sia, the better. So I don't really mind that. And we're going to be going through game by game, doing our thing. We have a Thursday night game. We have two Saturday night games, which kind of pissed me off, honestly. Like, I love college football. Just let me watch the conference championship games. Just let me do that. But whatever, Roger Goodell, you got me by the balls. There's nothing I can do about it. And we are obviously then going to be talking about the Sunday slate as well as the Monday game. Some injury news, especially with my Giants. So we'll get to that. I'm curious how you guys feel about it. A couple fishy lines out there. So I'm curious how we'll do it. But we will get to it as we always do. Let's start with this Thursday night game. We have the Los Angeles Chargers traveling to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders. The line opened at -3.5 to the home Raiders. It's now down to -3 with not really any insane amount of betting coming in. So I'm kind of curious why it went down a little bit. One thing I will say, over-under started at 55. I know, Tipton, you don't take those, but information is still key. With 66% of the money, 2/3 of the money coming in on the over, that number has now dipped down to 53. So a little reverse line movement. Tipton, you're the guest. How do you like this game? Thursday night. I know you're betting it. You have to. If you're betting live Kansas State games on Tuesdays, I'm confident you're putting a couple bucks on this Thursday night game. Talk to me, man.
Yeah, and don't bet totals, right?
Yes. Well, okay. Sorry. I didn't give you the quotes. My bad.
I wish I could do what I say more often, but yeah, man. Raiders giving up 44 to the Colts. I guess the biggest news in this game is Gunther being let go and being replaced with Marinelli. I assume he's on the staff anyway, so I assume he comes in and just tries to simplify things a little bit. 200 rush yards to Taylor and Hines combined. Chargers a hair from being 0-3 their last three themselves. This is what I kind of like to liken to the old baseball game effect. This is going to be the second time around the lineup for division foes against Herbert. So he's getting ready to run a 3 straight division game gauntlet there, where it'll be all their second chance at seeing him. Raiders O-line should get a little healthy. So I think that they'll probably get locked down on the outside, but I'd look for Jacobs and Waller to go off a little bit. It seems like one of those begging you to bet scenarios with the Chargers grabbing 3, and especially if it's 3 and a hook. I'm likely going to be on the Raiders, especially if all the numbers continue to do what they're doing. If I have to, I'll buy it down to 3, but I like a cheeky play on the Raiders lane 3 here.
Love it. See, how about you? We get the Anthony Lynn Bowl. We get the Anthony Lynn takes out of the way quick. 3.5 minutes into the show. Talk to me. How much do you love the Chargers this week on the road, getting points? I know you're going to take them. You're a sucker. See it. Come on.
For those of you listening or watching that aren't familiar with me and this specific show, I basically have an Anthony Lynn rant every week. I mean, it's a long-standing Anthony Lynn rant.
At least like 3 or 4 weeks, like solid in a row. There's always been like rumblings, but a legitimate 1-minute clip that I've gotten from the last few shows. So I'm excited for this one.
Well, it's funny because last week, we always make fun of him and how he loses games for his team, but usually the evidence of that is circumstantial. Like we see them kind of do something dumb at the end of the game, or just, the game plan in the fourth quarter is terrible and a team comes back and beats them. We actually saw direct evidence of pathetic coaching this time, like actual direct, where you could like literally point and be like, that guy on the sideline, like actively screwed up that play. And so when they were trying to get to the half and trying to run the ball and then get the field goal team, but like nobody knew that the field goal team was coming on the field, it was completely absurd. This line is really interesting to me because I agree that it feels like they're begging you to take the Chargers here. I mean, the Chargers have arguably the better talent. The Raiders have looked really bad the last couple of weeks. Their secondary is all kinds of banged up. So, I know the Chargers receivers are banged up too, but The Raiders back end really scares me here, but I can't do it. I can't bet on Anthony Lynn, so I'm going to lay the points and take the Raiders.
And I think that's like, it's so confusing, right? We watched the Chargers at least play a competitive, albeit not very competent game against the Falcons. It was funny. Those teams deserve each other. Like, let's just be honest. Those teams deserve each other in that type of game. It was absolutely fantastic. I'm here for all of it. And the Raiders just get shellacked. Like, have you ever heard of a team having like a really great loss, like a true statement loss, like to the Chiefs, and then they just come out and lay an egg after an egg after an egg? They should have 3-4 losses in a row. Obviously, Greg Williams had something to say about that. But here we are. The Raiders went from Sia's top 3 team to now probably not going to make the playoffs, honestly. Top 3 in the AFC, so we'll give you that caveat. Don't worry. But it's just crazy to me. It's crazy to me. I don't want to touch this game. It's Thursday night, so I probably will. Hopefully, we'll just put some prop bets in because those are a little bit more. Those are easier. Especially after the bad beat we had on Monday. My goodness. But, it is what it is. So we'll see what happens there.
One thing I want to point out is it looks like Ruggs is out. So Nelson Aguilar has been getting a ton of targets, really this entire season, but especially the last few games. He doesn't have the most favorable matchup. I think Casey Hayward's probably going to be shadowing him. So, I mean, just from a DFS showdown standpoint, I'd probably still play Aguilar, but other guys are going to have to step up here for the Raiders offense to move aside from Waller. And I don't really know what to think about Jacobs at this point. He's been really bad lately as well. But yeah, I agree with Tipton. They're gonna establish the run and they're gonna dish it to Waller. I cannot bet on Anthony Lynn. So, but I just wanted to point out the Ruggs injury because there's injuries everywhere. We're gonna have to check before the game who's active.
100%. I think that is pretty important. With that one being the Thursday night games, obviously coming up a little bit sooner. We already have Casey in the chat. Casey, not right now, man. Not right now. Ask us football questions. We got Tipton here. Ask us football questions. This guy knows what's going on. All right, let us move on. The first of 2 Saturday games. We have a 4:30 Bills traveling to Denver to Mile High to take on the Broncos. Line opened at -5. Looks like it's -6, 6.5, depending on your book. I'm seeing 6.5 here on DraftKings currently. That's with a nice number of bets coming in and a big number of handle. Almost 85% of the handle is coming in on the Bills. And of course, all the money is going to the over. So Bills -6. Talk to me. We'll do 6.5. DraftKings is pretty reputable. Sia, how do you feel about 6.5 to the Bills?
I promise I'll be on some dogs. I promise. But this one I can't do. And this is really more of a Drew Lock thing. And he's so turnover prone. Especially when he's trying to play comeback ball in a negative game script. And other than Tim Patrick, I mean, Jerry Jeudy here and there, but like the receiving core really hasn't stepped up big time. Remind me, I think Melvin Gordon might be hurt here. So and by the way, when the Bills defense got Matt Milano back, like they really became a much better defense. Otherwise, they're relatively healthy. So yeah, I like the Bills here. I think this could be, I understand they're coming off a couple big games and this is an obvious letdown spot, but I just don't think the Broncos have enough.
Gotta love a good letdown spot. Tipton, talk to me. Bills -6.5 on the road in Mile High. Not the easiest place in the world to play.
No, and let's also take the fact that as you pointed out, this is one of 2 Saturday games, and this game is not buried into a bunch of 1 o'clocks and 4 o'clocks. And you start singling games out, then you start inviting a little more action from the fringes, a little more bet count, a little more tickets. So what do you see that's typically inherently inflated when that happens are favorites and over. So you get a Bills team that, on the surface looks like who in the hell wants to get in front of them. You don't know which Drew Lock you're going to get, but to see his point, they've had a hell of a few games. They come down and play a lowly Broncos team that bucked up against whatever defense the Panthers are trotting out last week, and Drew Lock was allowed to throw the ball all over the yard. But not only a letdown spot, but a little bit of a sandwich spot. And they have a game with the Pats coming up again next week. Again, traveling. If this line stays under 7, which it looks like it will, and keeps floating around 6, Mr. Linesmakers knows all the things that we know. And it really comes down to situational handicapping. And again, one of 2 Saturday night games. They're laying points on the road and an obvious letdown / sandwich spot. I'll find a way to be on the Broncos +6.
It's to coin a phrase from one of my favorite podcasts, the Solid Verbal. They're not a part of our network, but I really like them. A letdown look ahead sandwich doesn't get any better than that. They had major game and then a shitty game, as you said, against the Broncos, easy letdown spot, and then you can go ahead and check out that next game against the Pats. I think with it being a Saturday game, it also makes it a lot more confusing and complicated. See what you got.
No, it's a really good point that Tipton brought up about the Saturday game and it being singled out. And therefore, you're going to get a lot of like public bets and on, of course, the over, but on the favorite, especially a hot favorite, and what we saw with Josh Allen. So there's no question this line is inflated. So like considering that, considering that the true line here probably should be, I mean, Tipton could speak to this maybe better than me, but the true line probably should be like 5 or 5.5, and instead, or maybe even 4.5, and instead we're getting 6.5 because of that inflation. So that's a really good point. So if you're taking the Bills, you're basically taking on an extra point and a half probably because of that, of what Tipton said about how this game is structured on a Saturday.
And that's why we have Tipton come on the show. The line did open at -5, and it looks like it quickly moved up or down to 6. Is it down technically? Because it's minus? It's like golf, right? Man, I miss our golf shows, Sia. Anyway, yeah, I think this is going to be interesting. It is a Saturday game. It's going to be fun. Well, you said it's not sandwiched in a bunch of 1:00 games, and we know the NFL. I mean, New Jersey just set another record. We're about to crush the overall record for a year for bets placed, which is awesome. I think we're going to get close to about 6 billion. So let's go. There are a lot of college football games on, and major college football games. So I don't know how much that's really going to sway. We all know NFL is king when it comes to pretty much everything. That might have a little bit of effect on it. I mean, you have Ohio State, you have Clemson, Alabama, you have all these teams playing Florida. So I don't know. It's not a normal Saturday, but I totally see where you're coming from. And I think a lot more people will be betting on it. So let's move to the late Saturday game. Tipton, I'm excited to get your take on this one. The Panthers are traveling to Green Bay, to Lambeau, to take on the Packers. The Packers open as -9.5 favorites. That number has now come down to 8.5. The bets are relatively split, but we have about 60% of the money coming in on the Panthers. Christian McCaffrey most likely will not be playing. I saw that he went to practice and had shoes on, but did not have his helmet. So whoever that beat writer is, I really appreciate the line of delineation there. Tipton, we'll start with you. It's your Charlotte team, right? 8.5 Panthers getting some points on the road. Aaron Rodgers, night game. I don't know, man. Doesn't really add up for me.
No, the matrix is never clear until after the game. But let's look at what Drew Lock did. If he can do that, certainly Aaron will do the same thing.
Right,
at home,
of course,
Saturday night in the cold. Right, I mean, it just march up and down the field. So we also thought last year, I think it was last year when Panthers went up there, they typically have a bit of a dogfight up there. Again, second game of this Saturday night. I think you're seeing what Matt Rule, his fingerprints are all over this team already, going all 9 defensive players in the draft. He is out to build a salty defense. And even I see it from, when John Smith, quote unquote, comes running on the field in the fourth quarter. These guys are starting to make plays, which just shows the level of talent development that he's bringing, the draft prowess that I think he's showing. And you can see this team starting to take shape already. So I do not count them out from being a scrappy underdog here. They've 2 of their 9 losses have been by more than 8, both to the Bucs. They played a couple other good quarterbacks other than Tom Brady, but it just tells you right there that maybe we've got should I say it? A backdoor Bridgewater?
Oh, wow. Already.
Yeah. Give me the Panthers in 9. Give me backdoor Bridgewater and 9 points. I'll take it all day.
You know what's so great about that is that John Norrell, who just jumped into the chat, who always makes fun of me because I oversay backdoor Burrow, or at least I used to before he got all banged up. Yeah, I know you haven't asked me yet, but I kind of like the backdoor Bridgewater moniker so much and the alliteration that I kind of have to be on Carolina. But again, in a real analytical way, I said I'd be on some dogs. This is a big line, and this really is fit for a backdoor. It looks like DJ Moore is playing, right, Tipton? And so we have DJ Moore, we have Robbie Anderson, Curtis Samuel. Now, obviously, CMC is not going to play. So we've got Mike Davis, who's, he's okay. He's a little bit above average, but they have enough offensively. I mean, they're not going to be able to stop Green Bay, but they have enough like Green Bay is not exactly like some titan when it comes to defense. They will be able to run on them, and they will be able to pass on them to some degree. So, yeah, I like them. If they can't keep it close, you got the backdoor Bridgewater. So I'm in on that.
I love it. I love it. It does. It is that it's such a big line, and I did not know, but I appreciate the statistic that the Panthers have only lost 2 games by more than 8 points. I think that is a very, very important thing to understand, as you said. And for people that don't know, we were talking a little bit of college football because of the Saturday games. And Casey, I'll get to your comment in a second, I promise. Matt Rule took a 1-10 Temple team, brought them to 2 bowl games. Only like a couple years later, he took that Baylor team. You Google that. I don't really want to get into it, but he took a very bad Baylor team and brought them to the Big 12 championship game, brought them to multiple bowl games. They were in playoff contention for like a hot minute there, which was kind of cool. So again, if you get in contention, that's still pretty impressive. So we do appreciate that. And just to Casey's comment, the Bills and Broncos will be televised at the exact same time as Clemson Notre Dame. I'm going to be watching both because I have 2 TVs. So Casey, just get a second TV, man. That's all you need. Very easy.
It's still I mean, to me, like a scheduling error. I mean, they probably shouldn't be kicking off at the same time. I think that's the point he's making. Yeah. And for the record, Casey, if you don't think Home Alone's a top 5 Christmas movie, then like at least list your top 5 Christmas movies, because I don't understand how Home Alone doesn't fit within the top 5. Anyway, you go ahead and list it. We'll talk about it later.
I have watched, and I'm not kidding when I say this, I have watched Home Alone 1 and 2 combined probably over the last 7 days, probably about 10 times. I know I said probably like a bunch there, but it's just background. That soundtrack, John. Okay, we don't need to get into it. I love it. I love it. Let's move on to some Sunday games. This one's going to be interesting. We have the Lions traveling to Tennessee, take on the Titans. Line opened at about 10.5. Looks like you can get it at 11 if you want, but it looks like it's sitting at 10.5 still where I'm looking. Stafford most likely will not play. I think he broke something else this time, which is just unfortunate. That poor dude, he's just getting hammered back there. DeAndre Swift should be okay. Kenny Golladay, I'm just going with the assumption he's never going to play again. And my season-long teams don't appreciate it, but it is what it is. We truck on. Derrick Henry in December. Titan stacks in December. This Lions team, not very good. Sia, let's start with you. Titans, minus 10.5 at home against a lowly Lions team without their starting quarterback.
So Henry had a really good week 2 weeks ago, and then he followed it up with 215 yards and 2 touchdowns and a couple catches. Like this is video game. This is like Tecmo Bowl. By the way, that was before you were born. It was a video game, Michael. And
I am aware of who Bo Jackson is.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. So anyway, since you don't know that game at all, so if you gave it to Bo Jackson on Tecmo Bowl, like basically you would score a touchdown if you did the right like zigzag thing. Anyway, I digress. So I don't know how the Lions cover this line with Chase Daniel. And by the way, I don't think Chase Daniel is that bad. But without Stafford and without Kenny Golladay, I mean, the Chase Daniel to like Marvin Jones and Quentin Cephas show isn't going to, I mean, even if DeAndre Swift plays, which I mean, I guess he is going to play, but I'm assuming he's at full health. He will be able to cut into this a little bit, but AJ Brown, Corey Davis, AJ Brown, we got to monitor his status too, because he had that ankle issue on Sunday, but I think the Titans are just going to kind of smoke them at home here.
Me too. And I'm a little disappointed about it. E-Tip, what do you got?
I normally don't like this feeling of jumping onto the same canoe as everyone else, but I'm on, boys.
Help us row, man. Help us row.
I'm not one for pro athletes mailing it in. I just generally don't believe that. But if there was ever a time that anyone was going to, Jesus, the Lions are prime candidates here. I mean, just laid it all out in a relatively contested game, only to come up with what faint hope you had at a wild card to be gone. Lose Stafford for the 199th time. Asked Chase Daniel to come in and do something that Glennon couldn't do. I think we talked about last week how just deficient the Titans secondary is of just able bodies. But you give me a team that if they take their eye off the ball in preparation for just a split second in a game of inches, that can mean so much. And then you throw in a team that's just going to pound you for 4 quarters, run Derrick Henry left, run Derrick Henry right. That's just a recipe for this one just kind of tailing away. So, yeah, I'm laying them with the Titans.
Damn. That's a lot of points, guys. And I think I'm probably going to take it too because, this Lions team is just bad. One thing I will say from a personal standpoint is I'm in the semifinals of my home league, my big league. Going up against, I won 2 years ago. I'm going up against the most recent champion, and he has Derrick Henry and AJ Brown. So I'm just hoping for 150 and 2 touchdowns. That's it. Just give me that and I can win, I think. Anything more, it's going to be a problem. And this Lions team is bad. With the Lions play, David Montgomery, he just ran all over them last week, right? Granted, it was mostly on one rush, but that means Derrick Henry can just do whatever he wants, whenever he wants. It's going to be scary.
You know what you need, Michael? You need like 2 defensive touchdowns and have it get out of hand so quickly that McNichols gets like the entire second half.
Really crossing my fingers, man. But even then, I think Vrabel's too much of a dick to do that. Like he wants Derrick Henry to win, rushing title, yada, yada, yada. I can't really blame him. So I'm just hoping. Let's move on. This was an interesting line. We have the 49ers. So one of America's teams traveling to go play America's actual team in the Cowboys, I guess. Line open -2.5 to the 49ers on the road. Looks like it's at 3.5 right now. I'm seeing on DraftKings it's 3.5 with a lot of juice on the Cowboys 3.5. So it looks like it's about 3. Over under about 45, 44.5, doesn't matter, but all. And when I say all, I mean over 95% of the money is coming in on the 49ers at -2.5, -3. So my goodness, that's a lot of money. Tipton, talk to me. 49ers on the road, giving points with Nick Mullins as their quarterback. Talk to me.
That's just gross. It's a meat wagon game here. Everybody's injured on both sides. And I mean, look no further than the 2 quarterback positions. There's nothing really to take from Cowboys beating up on the Bengals. Andy Dalton got his revenge. So, yay. 49ers have at least battled 2 tough defenses. I'm going to sum this up with this. Shanahan, sideways triangle, McCarthy. Or open-ended triangle, I should say. Shanahan over McCarthy. That's what I'm going to boil this down to. Sideways, open-ended, era. Greater than. Let's go greater than.
Yeah.
How about Shanahan greater than McCarthy?
Love it. Honestly, that's probably what it comes down to. Sia, what do you got?
Yeah, that probably is what it comes down to. I mean, the one thing, if it's the Christmas season or holiday season, I should say, so let's just do a little narrative shopping. We have a 49ers team that didn't get to go home 3 weeks ago and has been in Arizona for 2 weeks. And 2 games they could have won, maybe should have won, and they lost both. And now they got to go all the way to Dallas. And I wonder, I don't expect a Kyle Shanahan team to, quote, give up. And I think we understand players don't give up. I mean, I guess some do, but they're also playing for their job and their position in the following year. So, but with all that said, I mean, they got to be really mentally and physically exhausted at this point. So I feel like you have to factor that in a little bit here. And honestly, knowing that, I think I'm going to be on the other side of this. I totally believe Kyle Shanahan is twice the coach that McCarthy is, but 2.5, I think this is going to be a really close game. It's a stay away for me, but if it stays at 3, which it looks like it is right now, I'll take the Cowboys. If it goes down to 2.5, it's a stay away. Or maybe I would actually take the Niners. But if it's 3 or 3.5, I'll probably go ahead and take the Cowboys.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Both of these teams not really playing for much anymore. A couple weeks ago, the 49ers did have a shot, and I mean, mathematically, they're still in it, but come on, we're on week 15, and they're two games out. They need everybody to lose, so it'll be difficult. I think it's just a weird number. Them giving the points on the road, as you said, they haven't actually been home in forever. It feels like I kind of feel bad. Yeah, I think it's not even a question. Kyle Shanahan is a significantly better coach than Mike McCarthy. But what do you guys see?
No, I was just going to say, just a reminder, Mostert's probably not going to play and Debo's probably out. So it's basically Jeff Wilson, Brandon Ayuk that are going to be, and Kittle, of course, is out with Nick Mullins. And is Nick Mullins going to play all 4 quarters? I mean, my guess is he's going to play poorly enough for CJ Beathard to come in there. So, I mean, at the very least, the Cowboys have, Zeke, who's kind of questionable, but by the way, Pollard's better than Zeke this season. From a yards per carry, just from an eye test standpoint, but I believe from an yards per carry standpoint, yards per touch standpoint, I believe he's better too. So whether it's Zeke or Pollard, I don't think that matters. You still got CD and Michael Gallup and Amari Cooper playing at a high level. So at the very least, at the skill positions, I know we're all banged up on both sides of the ball for each team, but the Cowboys definitely dominate that skill position territory.
And not that Sia has just somehow influenced me to think differently. But for those keeping score at home, this is a total pass. But if you made me play it, I'm going 49ers.
Yeah, I agree with that. This is one where there's no reason to bet this game. You got plenty of 1:00 games to bet on.
Exactly. Sorry, I was taking a sip of my beer. Thanks, guys. Let's move on. Bears, Vikings. We have an NFC North battle. We have the Bears traveling to Minnesota. Minnesota is giving 3.5 on the road. It looks like it started at 3.5. It's down to 3 now with all the money, about 80% coming in on the Bears. Over under a 47. We have more money coming in on the over, so more points. Mitch Trubisky, living legend. I think last week he had a better QBR than both Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes. So all you haters out there, could suck it. Sia, talk to me. Why do you think Mitch Trubisky is better than we think he is?
I mean, Mitch Trubisky is 3 touchdowns last week in the first half.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Go
impressive.
ahead and take a bow. Take a bow, Sia. Go ahead. You can. You can do it.
So I was, why I was saying that is because I sent to one of our chats, our fantasy football chats, that I was going to take Trubisky in our little like private DFS DFS whatever, like a weekly thing.
Yeah.
So everybody was like, basically like, you're joking, right? And within, I don't know, 40 minutes, Trubisky had 3 touchdowns, and I was basically looking like God. So that was kind of cool for a second, and then he didn't throw any touchdowns in the second half. But the point is, honestly, Trubisky is an upgrade over Nick Foles. I think we just seeing what we've seen, this year, I think we understand that Trubisky can move the pocket a little bit. He peppers Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson will find the ball. I think he had 9 catches. He had well over 100 yards, scored. And then David Montgomery is playing at a different level now. I mean, he truly looks like a different running back. So when you're getting a Vikings team that's basically been eliminated at this point, coming off a couple very, very tough losses, their kicking game is in complete shambles. I think this is going to be close. And to me, it's a coin flip whether, who wins this game, but 3.5. I mean, you're getting the hook too. That's crazy to me. I mean, I got to be on the Bears here. I initially kind of liked the Vikings, but thinking it through, notwithstanding the weapons that the Vikings have on their side of the ball, I like the Bears here.
Is it a little fishy? Do you think it's just a little fishy? Right?
It's a little fishy. It is a little fishy. Just to me, this line, it should be 2.5, maybe 3, not 3.5.
Yeah. Tipton, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, coin flip here, but C is on it, right? Pepper, force, lock on, whatever term you want to use. Trubisky gets the ball to Robinson. Why wouldn't you? I mean, do it.
Incredible.
Well, every play. Why not? I did enjoy seeing Nagy and company act like they literally were winning the Super Bowl last year or last week by that butt whooping they were putting on him. But hell, I'm genuinely kind of happy for Trubisky for all the shit he's taken. So good for him. Vikings winner 5 of the last 7. I mean, Cook's been running the show pretty much. They have a tendency to bog down when they get into the red zone, and I think that's where that Bears D can kind of really muck this game up. And again, this coin flip to me. I don't like either side. I'm taking the points if I have to.
Yeah. I think as Sia said, kicking game in shambles. I think the Vikings kicker was Dan Bailey, missed 3 field goals and an extra point, so left. And they weren't like 55-yard field goals like poor Joey Sly. Your friend Joey Sly has to kick at the end of every game. It's like, hey man, go win it on a 68-yard field goal. He doesn't really hit one of those. It's like a 37. Dan Bailey, you used to be really good, A, but B, you're an NFL kicker. You should be able to hit 37. My man, Sia Najad can hit a 37-yard field goal. I saw it with my own eyes. So
I tagged the New York Jets on Twitter just yesterday, and I'm waiting for the response. I assume they're like booking my airfare at this point. But they haven't actually gotten in touch.
I might know a couple people. I can hopefully I can at least get that in front of the right person. That's all. We'll see what happens. I'm doing my best. It's cold up here, and as I told you, I'm in the midst of a 20-inch snowstorm right now. We're only like a third of the way through, so I don't think you want to come today. Yeah, give it another week. Let's move on. We have the Buccaneers. We have the Falcons. Nice little NFC South matchup. Woof. This game started -3.5 to the Bucs. It's now -6 to the Bucs on the road with almost 100% of the money. Literally, almost 100% of the money coming in on the Bucs, but more tickets coming in on the Falcons. So you love to see that. Got a couple whales over there. About 2/3 of the tickets coming in on the over at 51.5, and almost 100% of the money coming in on the under. So it looks like we have whales that really, really like this game. Tipton, you're in that NFC South territory. Bucks going from -3 to -6. First off, why the hell was this game -3.5? That seems a little fishy. Something about, I don't know. It's a little weird.
Well, that's why they do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
They knew they probably put out a bit of a stinker, so it quickly got smashed. I don't know. Is Brady finally getting ready to feel a bit comfortable? Went into that bye off of 2 straight L's by the exact same score, 27-24. Don't know why that's relevant. Just stuck out. But then come out with a W against the Vikings. Falcons are just doing weird things. Lame duck coach maybe jump up and destroy the Raiders, come back out, have 2 chances to win, both against the Saints and Chargers. They're scrappy. I hate Matt Ryan. I hate the Falcons. I hate the Bucks for that matter. So I'm probably a bit biased to your point from an NFC South perspective. So I don't really care about this game. I have a more important question about this game that I'm going to solicit both of your opinions for. I too am in the playoffs in one league and somehow made it through by not following my gut and starting Hill over Ryan last week. So I've got the same decision to make this week. Matt Ryan, Taysom Hill. What say you?
Damn.
Oh, Michael, you can go first.
Sia hates Matt Ryan.
Yes.
So he's probably going to say Taysom Hill. Who are the Saints playing one more time? Put
Kansas
on
Chiefs.
Yeah, I guess you have to go play Taysom Hill. He'll at least get rushing yards. That's something.
And by the way, Taysom Hill. Obviously, there should be. I'm surprised the over/under is what it is in this Buccaneers game, but there should be more points in that Kansas City game. You got negative game script, and by the way, Taysom Hill didn't look good last week, but his stats weren't that bad. I think he was 18 for 28. He, obviously rushed for a bunch of yards. Yeah, and he always has the upside to rush for a bunch of yards too. So Matt Ryan gives you zero upside with his legs. And honestly, when they are really bad, his floor is so low. His floor in fantasy is like 4 points when they're really bad. And you cannot say that about Taysom Hill. His worst case scenario was putting up like a 10 in that Chiefs game. And I actually expect him to do pretty well. So definitely Taysom Hill, in my opinion.
I like it.
Locked in.
Tipton's not giving us a pick, it looks like. Sia, how do you feel about the Bucks -6 on the road against the Falcons? Again, started at -3 for a reason, -3.5 for a reason. Just saying.
Yeah, I like the Falcons. There's too many points. It's a division game. The Falcons have been, like Tipton said, they've been plenty scrappy. I don't expect Julio Jones to play, so that's a factor. But I also don't like Matt Ryan. But the Buccaneers this whole season, they seem like paper tigers a little bit. I mean, if this line was back down to 3.5, I'd like the Buccaneers, but 6 is way too many points. 5.5, in my opinion, is too many points. So listen, it could go real bad for the Falcons real quick. But let's not forget Rojo isn't playing. Tom Brady, sometimes looks hilarious at quarterback. Like, if we're being honest, if he gets a pass rush and he has to shift his body. I mean, there was one time where he had to turn and throw to Ronald Jones early in the game, and he threw it literally 8 or 9 yards over the guy's head. I mean, literally 8 or 9 yards above his head, and it was an absurdly bad throw. And it's just because he is too old at this point to do the things that his mind is telling him that he can do. And so, I don't have confidence in him that he's just going to dominate for 4 quarters against this Falcons defense.
Man. You mean what down it is, right?
Oh,
is it 4th down? Is it not?
That was tight.
Yeah.
Oh, the play I'm talking about? No, it was not a 4th down play.
I was rewinding
weeks ago. Yeah. Weeks ago, right. when he thought it was 4th down, so he's like, "Oh, isn't it 4th down?" And everyone's like, "No, you idiot, it's 1st down. What's happening?" I wonder what's that like. So being the resident 15-year-old on the show, you guys are kind of old. What is it like having your mind to be like, "Oh, this is what you need to do," and your body's just like, "Can't do that anymore." Does that just feel helpless and hopeless? I don't know how you guys do that.
Michael,
it's gotta be so depressing.
Excuse me, real quick.
Depressing.
You've seen the videos I put out on social media. I'm clearly not there yet. So you might have to ask Tipton. Maybe he's there. I don't know.
I'm not going to embarrass you on my own show, Tipton. I wouldn't do that to you, but
I would embarrass myself. It's okay. It sucks. It sucks, man. I'll speak the truth here. It sucks.
Yeah. Thank you for being a man. I appreciate that.
I'm just being honest, guys. Sorry. I don't know what you're talking about.
All right. Couple more 1:00 games. Actually, no, we have a bunch more 1:00 games. Thanks, NFL. You give us 2 Saturday games during championship weekend, and you give us 3 4:00 games. Really appreciate the scheduling. We have the Texans. We have the Colts. We just saw this game a couple weeks ago. Texans traveling to Indianapolis. Indianapolis favored by 6.5. That is now 7.5. Over under sits at about 51. Most of the money, most of the bets coming in on the Colts. But as I said, we just saw this game a couple weeks ago. This was, I don't want to say Jonathan Taylor's breakout game, but he finally started getting more carries in that game. In the last couple weeks, he has absolutely looked fantastic. So crossing my fingers that pick turns out in a separate league where I'm also in the semifinals. Don't want to brag. So yeah, I think we started with Tipton last time. We'll go to you. Yeah, the AFC South. this is weird. We just saw this game, as Tipton was saying. We're now starting to come around to that second time, bet through the batting order. Great analogy. I love that. How do you think the Colts just come out and whoop them again? I mean, we obviously know everything's going on with the Texans and PEDs and Bill O'Brien and yada, yada, yada. But
well, also their secondary is in complete shambles. I mean, they don't have either of their starting corners, I believe, and I think their safety is out as well in this particular game. So, I mean, Phillip Rivers isn't exactly like a daunting quarterback to go up against, but he probably will be able to connect to your Pittmans and your T.Y. Hiltons on a pretty routine basis. With that said, 2 weeks ago, or whether it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, I can't remember, Texans should have beat the Colts. I mean, they were on like the 3-yard line, and if it wasn't for a fumbled snap, Deshaun Watson basically walks into the end zone. Their team is a little different now than it was then. I mean, they've I think taken on a couple more injuries, but I'm getting the hook. I mean, if this was 7, I'd probably stay away, but it looks like it's 7.5 in a lot of places. I kind of have to take the Texans because that recent history is very recent. And at the end, Deshaun Watson, if we're going to talk about backdoor covers, like this is a prime. Deshaun had a bad game last game, but there was a couple of funny, kind of quirky things that happened. He got stopped at like the 1-inch line, and then they went for it on 4th down, and they didn't get it. And then he got injured for part of the game. So with all that said, again, 7.5 is too much. 7, it's a stay away.
I like it. Tipton, talk to me.
Yeah, no play for me. I don't know. Do you know this? Do the Texans have statistically the worst D in the NFL at this point?
If they don't, they're getting there. I would say right now it's between them and the Raiders in terms of right now how aggressively bad their defenses are.
Yeah, it's it's tough. Deshaun Watson is a bit of an equalizer, and giving him a touchdown, giving any really good quarterback, I'd consider him a really good quarterback a touchdown, regardless of what's out. I mean, the Broncos are down their top 2 cornerbacks, and Bridgewater didn't really, put much pressure on them. So teams can work around that, but the Colts might be playing a little peekaboo with Pittsburgh coming up next time. They just saw the Texans, to your point. Go through the motions, run the ball, get out of there. Our defense needs to get healthy. We're getting ready to play the Steelers next week. I could certainly see the Texans slipping in there. I'm not playing it, but if I had to, I'm definitely taking the points.
And since we're in this part of the season and we have addressed some teams kind of mailing it in a little bit, from what I've seen from the Texans, they are not mailing it in at all. Like they're playing hard for 4 quarters. So there's something to be said for that when you got, again, this is a division game. You got Deshaun Watson who, it's interesting because it looked like he got hurt and he desperately wanted to come back in the game and came back in the game in the 4th quarter. Maybe it was the late 3rd just a few days ago. So to me, that speaks to the culture of this team, with their new leadership, like really wanting to win regardless of whether the win count or not.
Yeah. They really don't count this year because they don't have their top 2 picks. Both, I think, went to Miami. So it literally means nothing. These wins and losses, they're just trying to play football, which I respect. 7.5 is a lot of points. As you said, Sia, the recency of the Colts just beating the shit out of the Raiders and the Texans looking pretty bad this past weekend probably helps. But only 2 weeks ago, as you said, Texans probably should have beat the Colts. It's a division game. 7.5 points is way too many. I don't want to touch it, but yeah, if I was going to lean on it, I would definitely take the Texans. See, actually, total side note. So I was doing an interview today with Katrina Gazarian, really cool girl. She's going to be starting to make some content with us over here at Win Daily Sports. She is about to own an NBA franchise. She is like in those circles. Yeah, really cool. Listen to the interview. Check it out. You could check it on the podcast. Give us a 5-star review. Check it out. She's a really cool person. But I don't know who it was, but somebody, we were just doing the interview live on Facebook, and somebody commented and called me an asshole and said that I lost them a lot of fucking money. And I was just like, I'm not going to answer it because I was in the middle of a conversation, but I mean, do I ever come off as the kind of person? Have I ever said, put your entire bankroll or put $1 million on a game? That's not me. So I really kind of want this guy to show back up. I don't remember his name. I don't remember who he was, but I want him to show back up because I can engage him now. And I'm just really curious. Like, what did I say last week that would have made somebody be like, I have to put $1 million on this game?
Well, did he isolate it to last week?
No, he just said, you asshole, you lost me a lot of fucking money. And it's like,
Michael, you do realize there's people that just like troll the internet, right? And Facebook, yeah, but
like, social media platforms. That's fine. That's what I mean. I kind of want him to come back. Like I can engage with him now. I was just really confused. Like what?
I think this is going to keep you up at night, and it's adorable.
Oh no, I forgot until right now. I
This is
forgot until right now,
definitely a
30
troll.
minutes into the show. I respect it. I mean, I'm all for trolling. Believe me.
You of all people, I mean, you make some picks, but I mean, if anybody's going to like criticize somebody, it would probably be me or like somebody like Tipton, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, and you actually speak very specifically about how conservative your plays are. So
Yeah.
again, that's why it speaks to this. That's probably a troll, but don't
Damn.
be sad, man. It's okay.
Oh no, I'm fine. I really hope it was he put a bunch of money on the Saints to beat the Eagles. That would be just the funniest. Like that would be me trolling him back, saying like, I kind of hope it was this game, you idiot. But he's not here right now, so hopefully we can get him back. All right, let's move on. Seahawks. Oh, Sia, we're gonna start with you. Seahawks traveling to the football team. Seahawks -3 on the road. It's now -5.5. All the money's coming in on the Seahawks because Alex Smith is not going to play. Antonio Gibson is not going to play, and we are going to be graced by Dwayne Haskins for at least one more week. And my goodness, I'm excited. Sia, future quarterback or future not quarterback?
Okay, two things. One is I've been on record since, and this is literally on record. In fact, on the chat that I'm on with Tipton as well, I didn't like Haskins from literal day one, from draft day. Okay, because I didn't like him at Ohio State. His footwork is terrible. Like his leadership qualities really aren't there. But outside of that, I think Alex Smith might be playing this game. I don't think he's been ruled out. Really? He had the calf strain, but I think he got a limited session. It's Wednesday tonight.
Oh, I thought he was DNP today.
He might have been, but he definitely hasn't been ruled out. My understanding was that he was either questionable or probable.
So if there's one person that you're not going to roll out with a leg injury, it's probably going to be Alex Smith, right? I don't care which leg it is. I don't care which leg it is. It's probably.
Unless you're playoff viable and your backup is Dwayne Haskins. I mean, I think that's the sort of the corollary to that rule you just mentioned. But
that's a good point. Do you guys want Colt McCoy back? Do you want Colt McCoy back? You can have him. You can just have him. Just take him.
Colt McCoy's good, but Colt McCoy's always been a very average quarterback, which in some NFL, on NFL teams is perfectly fine, including yours, by the way, because if he was playing that game against Arizona instead of a banged up Daniel Jones, you guys actually might have had a shot to win that game, but we'll get to the Giants later. Okay, if this is Dwayne Haskins, it doesn't matter what the number is, and it doesn't matter how good the Washington defense is, because the fields will be so short for Seattle that there's no defense, no matter how good we think the Washington defense is, there's no way they're stopping Seattle with all the short fields they're getting with Dwayne Haskins. So if it ends up being Haskins, obviously this line will start creeping up as that news filters out, or as that becomes more definitive. I would say take Seattle, even if it's 7.5. I'm even going to say if it's 8.5, take Seattle if it's Dwayne Haskins. But if Alex Smith plays, I still like the Seahawks. As big of a Washington fan as I am, I just don't think this defense can hold up every single game and win games for a pathetic offense, especially without Antonio Gibson. This offense has absolutely no firepower. They signed Lamar Miller today, and honestly, he's probably the best running back on their team, and they literally signed him today off the street. So, Smith isn't really finding McLaurin. Logan Thomas gets peppered with targets, but they're typically not downfield. I don't know how Washington keeps up with Seattle. I think even if the Washington defense really plays well, I still think Seattle covers this number. So I'm all over Seattle. What I would say is if Haskins is in, definitely bet this game. If he's not in, I'd still bet it, but I'd bet it a lot lighter.
Mm-hmm. All right, random Facebook man. I hope you're listening. That was Sia telling you to put a lot of money on the Seahawks. Tipton, talk to me.
First, I'm going to send you some emails from my Capper's Advantage days that'll make you feel a whole lot better.
I don't feel bad. I want him to come back. I don't care. I know I didn't do anything wrong because I'm not the kind of person. But
Tipton, he's so sad.
I want him to come back.
I'm worried. I'm worried. We're going to need a wellness check. If we can get through the snow, we're going to need a wellness check at some point.
An evaluation for sure.
First, let me say, I have seen the effect Jack Del Rio can have on a defense firsthand. He is, for my money, he's one of the best defensive coordinators I think I have seen in the last 20 years of truly paying attention to NFL football. So it's no surprise that him, along with Rivera, together with the tools that they have on that defensive line, are creating, something special there on that D line. When Kerrigan used to be your guy, and now he's a rotational guy because of what's going on there with Sweat and Young. It's fun to watch. I love defensive football. I love big D line play, and it reminds me of those early 2000s Panthers teams with Peppers and Chris Jenkins, and those guys causing trouble like that. I'm not overreacting to what Seattle did to the Jets. I expected that. I kind of felt like after the Jets had snatched defeat from the jaws of victory that it was going to be really hard for them to go out to Seattle. It was a perfect time for Seattle to get right, and they did what they needed to do. Their O-line's getting healthy at the right time. They should get Dunlap back this week. Again, I'm not discounting what Washington's been able to do and the way they've been able to play. And I don't think they get ran over here by any means, but chasing Wilson around for 4 quarters might have a little bit of a different effect. And if you're consistently being trotted out there because you're not moving the chains, that's just going to be a recipe for disaster. So I'm going to see. I'm laying the points with the Seahawks. I'm not putting a stack on them or anything, but I'm definitely laying them.
Yeah, it's weird that it only was -3 to me. I think that's interesting too. See what you got.
Well, one thing I was going to say was typically when you have a team all the way on the West Coast traveling to the East Coast for a 1 o'clock game, that's an issue. But that game was in New York last week, if memory serves. So I'm guessing Seattle stayed on the East Coast. I mean, especially during COVID, I know San Francisco stayed on the East Coast when they had back-to-back NFC East games. So for those of you that might be like, oh, well, I see why the line opened so low because, the West Coast team traveling to the East Coast for a 1 o'clock game. That probably isn't the case here. So that's just something to consider because we saw what happened. I know we know the Raiders, for example, are like a pretty bad team, but about 4 weeks ago when we thought they were awesome, they had one of those West Coast trips to play Atlanta and they were like 2.5 favorites against Atlanta. And I was the sucker and I went for that one and they got completely boat raced. Yeah, it was just a rookie move by me, but at the same time, like that was really good evidence of that West Coast team traveling for a 1 o'clock game on the East Coast. This is not one of those situations.
Yeah. That game was in Seattle last week.
Oh, it was. Okay, so they did have to do the travel. Okay, thanks for checking on that.
Thanks,
So,
Tipton.
Tipton, let me ask you, what do you think that's worth? Forget about these two teams in general. If a team in California or Washington has to go to the East Coast for a 1 o'clock game. Is that worth a point? Is it worth a 1.5, half a point, or is it completely disregarded by you?
Yeah, no, I wish I had some true quantifiable data on that because my gut feel is that it hasn't had as much of an impact for whatever reason this year and more recently when it used to be a pretty big variable into the equation. So it's not made its way to the forefront of my handicapping, and because that it hasn't. I don't feel like it has stuck out, but I've got nothing to go on other than my gut. But I feel like that's kind of waned a little bit here. I don't know. They're getting better at it, or it became a thing. So then you do some things to combat it. Some smart coaches start to, do you leave a day early? Do you let your body acclimate quicker or sooner? So yeah, I don't feel like it's been as much of a thing as it was. But again, that's just me shooting from the hip on that.
Shooting right from the hip. I was hoping you were going to talk a little bit more because I started to Google search it to see if we can get anything.
If I had to put something on it, I honestly think it's probably worth because by the way, there was a playoff game, I think it was just last year, where two teams did that 2 different ways, where one team arrived like on a Wednesday to play that playoff game, or maybe it was a Thursday, and the other team arrived on a Friday. So like different organizations are going to do that differently. And I'm sure there's logistics involved that we can't really speak to depending on the team. But to me, that would be worth a point. Like to me, like if you thought the Seattle game should have opened at 4, for example, but it opened at 3, like to me, I know a point is a lot in NFL betting. So maybe it's a half a point, but I don't think this line should open at 3. I don't know what all the factors that are involved in this particular line, but I feel like that might get factored in just a little bit.
Yeah, this brings up another circadian rhythm angle. When you look at take the reverse of this and take East Coast teams going out and playing a Sunday night or Monday night game, by the time you get the second half of those games, it's late. So
right.
there's the exact reverse of that too. I'd be interested to see, Michael, what'd you find?
So I just have it doesn't give me 1 o'clock games, which is kind of frustrating, but it does say West Coast teams traveling east, playing in the East time zone from 2013 to 2019 are actually 58, 40, and 4 against the spread for plus 15 units, assuming you're putting about a unit ish, it looks like, on a game. Before that, it was pretty bad, 57, 70, and 1 from 2003 to 2012. So they were pretty bad. Sites here, teams have become better at managing this situation by changing when they leave for an East Coast game, as well as understanding, kind of how to sleep, as well as the travel has also increased significantly in terms of what you get when you travel, that kind of thing. Back in 2003, it wasn't quite the same. I'm sure they're very well pampered and deservedly so to do stuff like that now. So it's interesting. Yeah, not quite as bad. I do want to just point out, Casey, Mike Greenberg said on Get Up today that Washington is going to be dangerous in the playoffs. Casey, you literally listen to us every week. And for the last 5 weeks, C and I have both been saying it doesn't matter who's coming out of the NFC East. We will most likely think they win at least one game. If not win it, definitely cover, but probably win a game. I will put money on whoever comes out of the East. I'm going to put it on the money line, and I'm going to win money. I'm confident in that. So thanks for paying attention, Casey. At least you're here, I guess. At least you're here. A couple more 1 o'clock games. Let's get to the Patriots traveling to Miami. Dolphins -3 at home. That line has come down to what looks like, I'm seeing a pretty big spread. Is it 2.5? 2. Looks like you can get it at 2 right now to the Dolphins. Do you guys remember when Cam Newton was good? Because this was the first game when we were all like, holy shit, Cam Newton's good, guys. What did we do? Everybody passed on Cam Newton. Oh my God. And then only a few short weeks later, we're like, dude, this guy's terrible. This guy's absolutely terrible. Dolphins giving 2 at home, coming off a statement loss, some might say. We've seen this before against the Chiefs, where you lose a really close game. Great job, good effort. Tipton, Dolphins -2 at home. What do you got?
Lots of stuff in this game that hit my senses, my capping senses here. First of all, let me back up to last week and thank Brian Flores and the Miami Dolphins coaching staff for kicking a field goal when I needed you to, when it makes sense to. Right?
Analytics,
not going to score a touchdown, more than likely kick the field goal. Let's try to get an onside kick. So my Christmas card's in the mail. Thank you again. The Pats passing game, it's just Dolphins are definitely equipped to continue to kind of hold that down. So I would expect that the Pats try to get that run game going, get that line moving, head down and run blocking and run. I'm also a Tua fan. I don't know. He gets a ton of hate. Maybe it's the lefty that I'm mesmerized by. But I don't think he's got a little bit in. I like watching him play. I think he's exciting. So I'm a fan of his. He may be down some weapons from last week. I don't know the health status of Gesicki, Parker, Grant. So that obviously won't be too good. But I think what we have here, if you could picture a cartoon sitting at the table waiting for a steak, knife, fork, drool, napkin around the neck, the whole nine. That must be what Belichick thinks when he gets this trifecta of he's playing a rookie quarterback for the first time. He's got extra time to prepare. And to top it all off, it's a teacher versus pupil moment. So that is a trifecta of Belichickianism somethings. And I will take the points if there's any left because I hadn't acted yet. However, if they flip to a fave, that will cause me to completely backtrack and relook at what public action and sharp action are doing. So as I said before I started talking about this, there's a lot of things that I'm paying attention to in this particular game, a lot of things that could change between now and then. So I've got to qualify this with I'm on the Pats right now plus anything. If they flip to a fave, I reserve the right to reestablish my pick because I have not bet it yet.
Yes, it is Wednesday. You have reserved the right. We will allow it. So a couple things looking up the injury report. Looks like Devontae Parker, Jakeem Grant, Matt Breida, and Kyle Van Noy should be back. I think Kyle Van Noy is an important one. Eric Flowers is going to be out, whatever, Giants fans. And Mike Gesicki most likely will not be he will not be playing. He's already projected to be out. I don't think it's confirmed, but projected. And yes, thank you. I apologize, Tipton. One of the three things I have to do is tell you what the line is and also tell you where the money's going, right? We have reverse line movement. I wish we had that soundboard, Sia, because every time we say it, it's just so much fun. We have over 2/3 of the money going on the Dolphins. Started at -3, and again, that's now down to -2. So that is something. And more bets are coming in, right? So we have the handle and the bets both going to the Dolphins, and that is making the line move in the opposite direction, which is not good. So I apologize for not giving you that information earlier. Sia, Dolphins -2 against the Pats. Pats won this game the first time. It was ugly, but they won.
Yeah, that's how they're going to win it this time too. So I agree with Tipton. I like the Pats too. I think they're going to be able to run all over this team, and we'll see. Like the weapons matter. Like Gesicki and Devontae Parker, that definitely matters. But again, the Belichick versus a rookie quarterback narrative is not just a narrative. Like he just completely destroys rookie quarterbacks. With that, and knowing the running game for the Pats is probably going to have a reasonably easy time. And I like Tua, but I just don't, without any receivers, I'm just not super confident in him. They don't have Myles Gaskin. So I'll take the points here.
I still don't like Tua. I mean, I like him. I'm sure he's a cool dude, and I think he will be good. I don't know, something about it. Maybe it's the lefty in him. Maybe it's just like, what's happening? Like, why are you throwing with that hand? That doesn't make sense. Usually I can see your face when you throw the ball, but instead I see your back, and it's very confusing. So I don't know. Maybe that's me. Definitely, if anything, I'm going to put money line Pats. That's about it. I don't want to. Fuck it. YOLO. What do you got?
To your point, though, Ryan Fitzpatrick is the better quarterback this year for this team. I don't really think that's much of a debate. Like, now that we've seen the sample sizes that we've seen, I understand, like, I'm not the coach. Brian Flores knows more than I do, but like, it just seems to me that Ryan Fitzpatrick, you have a better chance to win with him. Maybe you can make the argument, well, you have a better chance to lose too, because he'll turn the ball over. But we're in this community, we're always looking at upside, and I think Fitzpatrick offers so much more upside, and frankly, so much more game planning, because he has the ability to throw it down the field. With Tua, you're not really worried about him throwing it down the field, so the field gets condensed so much with him. And when you have a Patriots team that's scheming for a guy that doesn't want to throw it down the field, partly because he doesn't want to throw it down the field, but partly because he doesn't have the receivers to throw it down the field, you're going to have an easy time if you're Bill Belichick scheming against that.
Ryan Fitzpatrick won in New England last year, right? That was that week 17 matchup, 16, whatever the hell that was. That was awesome. Tipton, I see you shaking your head.
I don't get it. The constant pining for Fitzpatrick over Tua. Let the man play. Let him live. Let him cook. Let Tua cook.
Let him cook.
Not ready.
Hungry.
Jeez.
He's hungry.
Next year.
Jeez. Let him get some playing time.
I agree. I have a futures bet on the Dolphins making the playoffs, so I just want them to win this game. With the Ravens pulling that victory out, it's not looking so hot right now, but we'll see what happens. Crazier things. Let's move on. We have the Jaguars. Oh, and Julian Edelman was back at practice, most likely going to play. I don't know if that helps. Jaguars going to the Ravens, the Baltimore Ravens. We just saw them on Monday night, and was an incredible game. Loved every second of it. Ravens favored by 13.5 at home. Most of the money, most of the handle is going. I apologize. Most of the bets, most of the handle going to the Ravens at -13 at home. Over under sits at about 46.5 right now. Gardner Minshew's back, so keeping this bad boy. See ya. Jags, Ravens -13. What do you got?
Okay, in general, I love the Ravens, and I like the idea. You could have gotten it before that Browns game at around 25-26 to 1. Gil Alexander on VSiN was talking about this with some people, Todd Wishnev, maybe Mike Lombardi, I can't remember who, but you could have gotten them at 25 to 1.
Josh Applebaum come on the show? Was he talking with Josh Applebaum on the show?
I don't think Applebaum was on the show at the time. But the point is, you could have gotten them around 25-26 to 1 to win the Super Bowl before that Cleveland game. Now it's down to 22-23, depending on where you look, 21-20 to 1. The reason why it's a good bet is because they should win out, and they are going to win this game. But this is way too many. And by the way, I know what you're thinking. Well, Kansas City is going to stomp them, and they'll probably lose to a team before they even get to Kansas City. But if this team is firing on all cylinders like they have not all season, now that their defense is healthy, they didn't play well against the Browns, but you if they get to the Chiefs, you can start hedging your bet right there if you want to, if you make the appropriate size bet. I actually think there's value in betting the Ravens anywhere between 20 to 1 and 25 to 1 to win the Super Bowl, particularly if you want to play the hedge game in the AFC Championship, if that's where they get. With all that said, I like Minshew here. I really like him to cover the spread. This is another great backdoor opportunity. They do have a full complement of receivers with, Conley's healthy. Cole had a great game last week. DJ Shark didn't have a good game, but that was partly because Glennon just misfired on a lot of passes where Shark was actually open, at least one of which was in the end zone. You still have James Robinson, who is setting these rookie records at running back. They have enough in the tank to cover this line. So give me the Jags.
I love it. It's so many points. And yeah, while that was a fun game, the Ravens still aren't really that good. I think that's pretty obvious at this point. Tipton, what do you got? Jags +13. See what I did there? I led you into it. Talk to me.
Good segue. I'm missing a vital piece of handicapping knowledge here. I need to know if Lamar Jackson went to take a shit or not. I need to know.
Good question.
I cannot bet this game properly unless I know. I mean, he ran, for God's sake. So the cramp must have been, I don't know. Was that a
waddled? We've all been there. We've all been there.
Somebody didn't quite waddle. Short week, kind of scary, right? That was a big game against Cleveland. I think they expected that. That was a hard-hitting game, right down to the very safety-ish end of it. Sorry, whoever was on the wrong side of the
Ouch.
Yeah,
but other than that, I think they just try to run the ball and get the hell out of there and stay healthy and just try to make a push here. It's a pass for me, but I don't really like either side. I'm not even to the point where I'd feel comfy taking the Jaguars either. As a matter of fact, if you made me, I'd probably lay it with the Ravens. But it's just I got zero interest in it.
It's a difficult one. Definitely. I mean, 13 is so many points, as we've already seen. It's starting to creep up a little bit, 13.5 over here on DraftKings. So it's interesting. I think, I don't know, after such a crazy game, now everyone's all the way back in. It's just so funny how quickly narratives change. Everyone's like, nope, wait a second. Lamar is the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's honestly, he sucked in the first half. Outside of a couple nice rushes, he was bad. He was really bad. And I also just want to say, just a PSA to everybody, get Steve Levy and Brian Greasy the fuck out of that Monday night booth, because I cannot stand them. I liked Steve Levy until he started calling games. I never liked Brian Greasy, so I don't care about him. But Louis Riddick deserves more. I've said that once on the show. I'll probably say it again. My God, I can't handle them. So I do apologize for getting a little angry there, guys. I didn't mean to. All right, so we're moving on to the 4:00 game. But before we get to the 4:00 games, as you've kind of seen, if you're watching, if you haven't heard already, Win Daily Sports is sponsored by Manscaped. And we appreciate the hell out of Manscaped. Support for Win Daily Sports. This Win Daily Sports show is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. They obsess over the technology developments to provide the best tools for your grooming experience. See, I've been asking you a couple weeks now. I know you have your tools for your jewels. So talk to me. How has your Manscaped experience been so far?
I don't like to kiss and tell, but with that said, this really is an amazing product. I mean, it genuinely is an amazing product. And by the way, it's not just the razor. They got a bunch of really cool gifts in there too. So it's worth every penny and then some. So I encourage everybody to get out there and get it, and make sure you put the Win Daily promo code when you're at checkout. And if there's a existing promo code in there, you just erase it, you put in Win Daily, and you get that 20% off and free
20%
shipping.
And free shipping. Yes, Sia is right. Manscaped was very nice. They sent him and myself. We got underwear. We got a t-shirt, which is super nice. They gave us ball deodorant. Didn't know that existed, but when you kind of think for a second, it's that kind of makes sense. I see where they're coming from. So it has been, I'll be honest, it's been a lot of fun for me. I've been enjoying the hell out of it. And that is why Manscaped redesigned their electric trimmer for people like us, Sia, for people like us. The Manscaped engineering team spent 18 months perfecting the greatest ball hair trimmer ever created. And they just released the new and improved Lawnmower 3.0. The third generation trimming features a cutting edge ceramic blade. I legitimately tried to cut myself. Couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. It has reduced grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. When I tell you premium, my goodness, I mean premium. The first time, I didn't need to use all 90 minutes in that battery. I came close, but I didn't need to, thankfully, use all 90 minutes. You can use it in the shower, which is pretty sweet as well, and we always appreciate that. And they have this nice little LED light, which shows everything. So let's not forget about... I'm sorry.
Can you get to? I'm sorry. I didn't want to. Can you get to John in the chat because he's talking about Manscaped? I think he's the guy that trolled you on Facebook.
No, it wasn't him. I did not cost you your mortgage, John. Get out of here. The Corey Davis prop wasn't even mine. Get out of here, John. Get out of here. So the next prop that you do win, make sure to go to manscaped.com. Use promo code WINDAILY for 20% off, so you can trim that junk of yours, guys. It's the holidays. Get it for yourself. You deserve it. 20% off, free shipping, promo code WINDAILY at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com using promo code WINDAILY. Your balls will thank you. And thank you, John. Get some of that disposable income back. Listen to Sia. I don't know why you guys listen to me. I'm just here to talk. I don't know. Listen to Tipton. He knows. Tipton, we'll start with you. You said this quote, and it's stuck with me forever. Jets, Rams. Rams minus 17 at home, getting all the money, not quite all the bets. Don't put good money on bad teams. Tipton, Rams minus. That's $1 million. I mean, fucking.
You stole my thunder. I couldn't wait to say, and I'm not in a hurry to lay good money on what, Michael?
Bad teams.
Yeah. Before we get into that, though, breaking news. I have just bet the Pats +2.
Oh.
So.
Wow. So no right reserved. I hope you know that.
I have retracted my right. Yeah, okay. I jumped.
Right.
I jumped. Rams were pretty fired up, beating the Pats. A little Super Bowl payback there without the super in the bowl. But the Jets, ran into Seattle in their get right spot, and I don't know. Again, going back to that snatch and defeat from the jaws of victory, I don't know that they're right for the rest of the year. I'm not going to paint the same scenario here as I did with the Jets going to Seattle and being very comfortable in Seattle doing what they should have done. 17 is quite a bit. I don't have that feeling here, so I'm rarely going to lay that many points in the NFL regardless. But I know what I'm not going to do, and I'm not going to throw the money on the Jets. So it's a pass for me. I don't like either side.
So many points. Yeah, minus 17 to the Rams at home.
It's so many points, but you can't take the Jets. No. Because Sam Darnold, so Sam Darnold hasn't been good since joining the Jets. I mean, he was arguably overrated at USC. I depending on who you talk to, I mean, if you talk to me, I would say he was overrated at USC, but that he would be an okay NFL quarterback. With all of that said, he looks like a shell of himself now versus the guy who wasn't even that good, a year and two ago. So it's really like regressing to a point, and the whole team's mailing it in. We're actively trying to lose at this point to get Trevor Lawrence. So I don't think I can lay this many points, but if I was going to bet this game, I'd bet the Rams or
there we go. We got it. Now we're into the show.
Tease it under the 10. But I'm not really super interested in that. That's the only way I'd
never are. You've never been interested in a tease once. I just want to let me put that caveat out into the world for you. So
for the record, I've bet maybe one tease this entire year. A couple money line parlays, which is kind of the same thing. But you can't money line parlay this one. Would I be surprised if this was like 31-10? No. Would I be surprised because of a defensive touchdown or two that if it was 38-13? No. So you can't bet the Jets. You can bet the Rams, but I'm not going to be doing that.
Mm-hmm. And you also could put in a tease. What do you got, Tipton?
Well, I was just going to say, is it a foregone conclusion that Trevor Lawrence is a Jet? Is that the consensus? I'm wondering. I thought Darnold threw the best deep ball out of that bunch coming out of college, and I had way higher hopes for him. So I'd really be interested to know if they just completely cut bait and Trevor Lawrence is who he is and it just doesn't matter. And he's the number one overall.
I think they have to. I think half of it is you're in New York City and they've already given up. And it's kind of funny, like being here, and I don't listen to as much sports talk radio because I don't really go anywhere anymore. But listening to, usually it's anger and that's why it's fun. But it's more just like everyone just feels bad for this guy. Like you usually don't hear that. Like you hear people getting pissed off at Daniel Jones, like last year especially, Pat Shurmur. Everyone just kind of is like, okay, Gase is gone at the end of the year, whatever. And then they're all just like they just feel bad for Sam Darnold. And it's just like so sad to see that. And it's like this poor friggin' guy, he gets no respect at all. It's just a foregone conclusion in everyone's mind. And I mean, I think you kind of have to, right? If you don't know what you have in Sam Darnold yet, I don't really know why.
Well,
just take Trevor Lawrence at that. You have to.
And so I think as of 2 or 3 months ago, they had already made that decision internally. The problem is, and the reason why you probably should have found a reason to put Sam Darnold on the shelf as soon as Flacco got into the game and whatever week it was, is because each game that you get completely crushed and each game that Sam Darnold doesn't look good, he's losing value literally by the quarter. And so, again, moving on from Sam Darnold and getting Trevor Lawrence isn't necessarily a knock on Sam Darnold. You think Trevor Lawrence is a amazing quarterback. You think Sam Darnold is a good quarterback, so you're going to take the amazing quarterback because you can. With that said, what are you getting for Sam Darnold right now, a pre-draft? I mean, there's plenty of teams that might want him, including the Patriots or, maybe Washington or somebody. There's at least 5 or 6 teams that could use Sam Darnold. But are you getting more than a second-round pick for him? And if so, is it a late or is it an early second-round pick? Like, I mean, if you had a few good games pieced together, or if you had put him on the shelf when Flacco came in, maybe you could have argued like, hey, give me a high second-round pick for him, or a couple second-round picks, because we still think he might have franchise quarterback value. But that's like all gone away. So it's the Jets being the Jets, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, what is happening here? This is so 2020. I'm feeling bad for Trubisky. New York is feeling bad for Sam Darnold.
It's a weird world.
What the hell is going on here?
I don't know, man. It's sad. And that's the thing. Like, most people are just like, yeah, Sam Darnold's not very good, but it's Adam Gase's fault. Which, I mean, every year I always love. There was a statistic earlier this year where they had all of the players that were on the Dolphins with Gase or were on the Jets with Gase, and then their season statistics immediately after leaving, and they all got better. Ryan Tannehill was terrible. Ryan Tannehill's not bad. We can all kind of agree upon that. He's not nearly as bad as he was when he was with Gase. There was a couple others that were just, it was so, Devontae Parker, terrible with Adam Gase, pretty good without him. So it's like there's a few instances where, what if that's Joe Douglas being like, hey guys, he's better than this. It's the Adam Gase effect. What if he sells it like that? Maybe gets that second round pick from someone like the Steelers. I think that's almost another foregone conclusion. Everyone just assumes he's going to the Steelers for some reason. So sorry, kind of sucks. Anyway, manscaped.com, promo code WINDAILY, 20% off and free shipping. Okay, this is the weirdest line to me, I think, of all of them at this point, outside of that Bucks 3.5, but that was divisional, so it made a little bit of sense. We got the Birds against the other Birds. We have the Eagles traveling to Arizona. So Arizona is back at home. It's not the 49ers anymore. This line opened at -6.5. The Cardinals have been bad. They then play the Giants, who we found out Daniel Jones wasn't healthy when he played. And then we found out that he sprained his ankle in the second quarter during that game. And for some reason didn't come out. So while I've kind of been trying to be like, Joe Judge isn't that bad, he had a pretty good run there, but what the frig are you doing, man? That is the total opposite of what you should be doing. We'll get to that game in a little bit. But why the hell are the Cardinals favored by 6 after the Eagles, as huge underdogs, go to New Orleans, if I'm not mistaken, beat the Saints outright pretty easily too, outside of, a couple of little weird plays at the end. They would have won, I think, by 10 points. I don't get it. It's confusing. It's just very confusing. See, Cardinals -6 at home. Oh, all the money and all the bets are coming on the Eagles. The line hasn't moved. If it has moved, it's actually moved in the opposite direction.
Yeah. So do we know if Darius Slay is playing? Because he is playing, right? I think he's playing.
I think so, but he's been pretty bad, especially for the last 3 weeks.
He is, but at least you could put him on D-Hop. I don't get this line. I mean, you definitely scared me from taking the Eagles based on what you just said about line movement.
All the money's going on the Eagles.
I don't know why you would take the Cardinals here. I can't think of it. They don't get a pass rush. Jalen Hurts is going to run that read option, and it's not like he's going to be all figured out by game 2, especially with this defense. Offensively, Kyler Murray hasn't looked that good. We still think he might be dealing with a shoulder injury. D-Hop hasn't looked that good, frankly, and Christian Kirk has been completely absent along with the rest of that receiving core. This one, but again, it's a weird line, and the fact that the line isn't moving and all the bets are coming in on the Eagles is super scary. I don't know what to say. I'm on the Eagles. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Tipton might be, just speaking from a pure line standpoint, Tipton might be the better person to ask here. So Tipton, what do you think?
Confusing. I ultimately will get to the point where I say I can talk myself thinking to both sides here, and I'm going to try to make a case for the Cardinals to see why this opened where it did. But first, I think it's time to really call out and understand that there is the paradigm has shifted in the quarterback position in the NFL. If you cannot run, there's really becoming no place for you. And unless you are a super accurate, veteran in the Breeze, Brady, Rodgers, sphere there, like everyone else to have success, they can move out of the pocket. So the fact that Hurts comes in and is able to do something like that with the same O-line that has caused Wentz to just get battered all season long, you see how much he changes the game. So equally, right, are you so excited by that you're just, man, you cannot get to the window fast enough to take a touchdown here against a non-threatening Arizona defense. Murray went off the injury report before that Giants game, finally, and look what happened. So I'm going to, as much as it pains me to, I'm going to take that for being somewhat of some truth as to his true health in that shoulder. He finally went off the injury report. They had a good game. So maybe he is healthy. Again, I want to see if this line moves. I think, what do you say, Michael? Are we stuck at 7 at the moment?
I have it at 6, 6.5, depending on the book, but that's reverse line movement.
Yeah, so I'm very interested to see where this one is closer to game time. And in full disclosure, I am typically a wait till all the information has come in that I can absorb before I truly make a decision, especially on something like this. But and I don't think this doesn't mean I won't become very interested in a side. Just right now, again, I could talk myself into both sides right now. The Eagles seem way too juicy, and I'm very interested to know if they're just come to be a true public dog or not. Right now, I certainly lean Eagles, but if that just becomes so one-sided at that +7, I'm definitely could change my tune. But yeah, it's a question mark. But
it's such a weird one, right? Like when I saw that line, that was like that's weird. I mean, the Eagles just beat arguably one of the 2, 3, 4, if you want to, best teams in the NFL and the Saints. Granted, it was with Taysom Hill. We all can agree he's really not that good, but he's good enough to win a few games. Eagles covering wasn't crazy. Sia had them covering. I did not, but okay. They went outright and pretty easily. I think they were up 14-0. They were up 17-7. Like they were up pretty much that entire game. And then that fumble late kind of messed with it, but whatever. Just to have it open there is just so confusing to me. And then now to not have it move, that is the scariest part. With all the money, with all the betting, with everything going to the Eagles at +6.5, +6, not having that move and already having it open, that is the thing. The only, and I'm just going to use this narrative because I think someone in the media, if they haven't already, you guys can take it and run with it. Kyler Murray runs the ball, so wouldn't the Cardinals be the best team that could potentially stop the Eagles and Jalen Hurts? Like, that's literally the only thing I can think of. Like, that's it.
Well, yeah, but you could have said that with the Saints last week because Taysom Hill runs the ball. Like, if anybody should have been able to.
He doesn't run like Kyler Murray. He's more of a friggin' fullback. That dude just kind of puts his head down and just hits a wall. Like, it's not quite the same. But
Jalen Hurts isn't exactly like the king of speed either. I mean, they're basically the same quarterback, right?
Jalen Hurts is bad. I just want to put that out there one more time for Eagles fans. Jalen Hurts is not good. So that's a good point to see, but it's confusing to me. It's confusing. We'll see. I don't know. I don't want to touch this game. The Eagles made me look stupid last week. Maybe that's what that guy was angry at me for.
Yeah, I'm going to bite. I'm on the Eagles again for sure. I'm just going to go ahead and put that out there right now. Man. I'm on the Eagles at 6 or 6.5. I'm on the Eagles.
I hope they get crushed. All right, let's move on. Last 4:00 game, America's game of the week. I'm assuming we have the Chiefs. We have those Saints again. Chiefs open on the road, 3-point favorites. Over under sits at 50.5, which is nice. Looks like the line's sticking at 3 as well. 63% of the bets and 90% of the money coming in on the Chiefs. I don't know. Chiefs have 1 loss this year. It was a divisional loss. They've kind of been whatever the last few weeks. They go down by 10 to the Dolphins. They only score 1 touchdown against the Broncos. They let the Bucks come back in 3 points to, again, arguably one of the best teams in the all of football. Tipton, we'll start with you. Chiefs -3 on the road against the Saints. America's game of the week. What do you got?
Chiefs are still dealing with those O-line issues. We've talked about this, and Mahomes has been covering them up. This might be a little bit of a different animal going into New Orleans. No crowd, I get you, but that defensive line, they can take advantage of the Chiefs, especially. I think they're still without Schwartz and Kelechi Oselemi. If they are I'm going to take the 3, and especially if that thing sits at 3, continues to grab 80 to 90% of action. I'm sure it won't be that high by the time we get there. If that thing does not move and it sits at 3 and continues to collect action between now and Sunday, I am all over the Saints. Conversely, if they throw the hook on there, that tells me they're getting a little nervous about that one-sided action, and I would, I may tend to back off a little bit. Dare I say, maybe look for some live line value,
Don't do it. They're fun, but it's never good.
But this is a little bit of begging you to bet here, laying such a short number with the Chiefs, and I don't know why anybody keeps talking about Breeze starting to look healthy or coming back. I do ain't coming back anytime soon. So this is the Taysom Hill show, no doubt. But I'm taking the Chiefs. Taking the Saints. Again, especially if that line sits there, I'm going to feel much more comfortable and confident taking the Saints. But obviously, we'll be looking to see if a move happens. But I'm on the Saints +3.
Like it. See what you got.
Yeah, this is sounding like the Josh Applebaum, sharp line freeze, or at least the fear that it's going to be, sharps coming in and scooping up the +3, which is why I'm taking the Saints as well. I mean, if you just kind of look at it from bird's eye view, I mean, it looks like Kansas City is going to win this game by like 10, 13, 14 points, especially coming off of what we saw last week. But again, we talk about this every single week. There's always 1 or 2 bets per week where you're like, oh, that one looks kind of easy. And if that's your reaction to a bet, then you can pretty much guarantee every single public bettor is going to think the same thing. You do not want to be on that side of the bet. You want to be on the other side of the bet. So give me the Saints +3. I think their defense will show up. And like Tipton said, the Kansas City Chiefs offensive line really hasn't been that good. And Mahomes is able to mask that a little bit. But, both have a ton to play for. So, the Chiefs are definitely trying to lock up that 1 seed and get the bye. So they've got plenty of incentive too. But I'll probably take the Saints, but it's not something I would bet right now. I'd like to see how the line moves, like Tipton suggested.
Yeah, let's go back to Taysom Hill too. He's got an opportunity to move the ball in that defense too. So I think the Saints will be there to be able to score. And I'm a fan of the Chiefs defense, and they're pretty salty, but I'm liking the points again.
Kamara, Latavius, Taysom Hill, that should be a nice little combo to move the ball pretty effectively on a consistent basis.
Yes. I think the good chance the Saints actually win this game outright, especially coming off that kind of like a shitty loss where Taysom Hill had 3 turnovers, I think. So it wasn't great. Didn't deserve to win that game against the Eagles. So it makes sense. But coming out, we all think this Chiefs team is incredible, and because they are, but they very clearly have flaws, and they very clearly can slip up when they, want to, I guess, for lack of a better term, or don't want to. I don't know. That didn't really make any sense, but I believe the Chiefs can slip up. That's what I think I'm trying to say. And it's definitely something to pay attention to. End of the show, 3-team money line dog parlay, probably going to have the Saints in there. That's all I'm going to say, Tipton. So jump on this train, buddy. Haven't won one yet, but damn, is it a blast. All right. We have 2 games left. We have the Cleveland Browns traveling to my New York Giants. Cleveland opened at -4. That line has moved now with the news that Daniel Jones should and probably will not be starting. Looks like it's going to be Colt McCoy again. So this line is now 4.5, 5, depending on your book. It looks like DraftKings has it at 4.5. FanDuel has it at 5. So that's just something to note. If you want to shop your lines, always do that. 73% of the bets, over 2/3 of the money coming in on the Browns. Over under sits at 43, which I think the Browns just crossed by themselves this past week. So I don't know. Maybe we could take the over there. Little thing about Daniel Jones, he was hurt and then got more hurt, and the Giants left him in. So don't know what the hell they're doing. Sia, what do you like here? And that's also actually a little weird too, right? Like, this is how much the bookmakers don't care about Daniel Jones. The line moves by 0.5 point. I mean, like, I don't know. I think the dude's bet that I think he's worth more than 0.5 point, but I guess I'm wrong. What do you like, Sia?
Yeah, I don't. I genuinely don't, especially if he's a hobbled Daniel Jones versus a healthy Colt McCoy. I think it's about a 0.5 point, maybe a point's worth. But I like the Browns here. I feel like the Giants' loss last week was a pretty big deal, and Baker Mayfield's like a real quarterback all of a sudden. And I don't know if that's
wait, I gotta stop you right there. So in the chat, I hope you didn't notice this, but the over under on C is saying Baker Mayfield's a bad quarterback. I was actually having my clock started, John. I want you to know. had that clock started. I apologize.
And you see Casey's comment too about trashing Baker since week 1. That's funny.
I love it.
Didn't see that either.
I love the chat. That's always the best part. Appreciate you guys. I apologize. Keep going. See, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. So the answer is the Browns are going to cover the spread, I think, but it's crazy because they have Hunt and Chubb, and that's what you thought this team was going to lean on. But honestly, the way Baker's playing with Jarvis Landry and Peoples-Jones and Njoku, it's pretty impressive. And I just don't think the Giants are going to match the firepower here. I actually took a quick glance at the weather. It's going to be cold, but there's no weather issues with this game. Mm-hmm. It's just going to, no wind or precipitation, it looks like. So I just think over the course of 4 quarters, the Browns end up covering this line.
I think it's going to be difficult. Tipton, what do you get?
Yeah, I'm going to take this small opportunity, if I may, to tout my the one move that I can hang my hat on. I'm dead last in our fantasy league, the one that Sia typically wins, but I'm dead last. And one of our other managers in the league, Ramel, he always goes through Ramel's recap at the end. And the first question I was asked is essentially what possessed me to draft Baker Mayfield as my QB1. So I would just like to point out that Baker Mayfield is throwing darts. He's on fire. It's what I expected from week 1, although it took a little bit to get going, but he's doing what I expected. So I'm going to take that as my one lone fantasy win in this awful season that I'm having in the league. Back to the regular schedule program. Browns in total letdown mode, right? God, could they have played any harder against any more of a rival and just come up any closer not to have it, to the point where Browns fans and teams are congratulating them on their effort, right? They've come a long way.
Loss. You'll love those.
There is such a thing, I think. The Giants were pretty salty before that Cardinals game. I too think they're better with McCoy under center. Even though that was such a hyper-focused, tough game, the Browns seem to me like a team that, and kudos to Stefanski. I mean, he's coach of the year, is he not? He's got that team playing in such – they're just turned in such another direction mentally. So I think that this is one of those games where a lesser team mentally would certainly fall down off of that hyper-focused, intense game against the rival the week before. There's no look ahead here. I think they have the Jets next. So no fear of that, right? You can just come off the letdown, but I think they can rely on that run game. Maybe just throw it in a low gear and just grind it out and just continue to 1-2 punch the run game, and I think they get the win. I'm not betting it because that's a huge letdown. But I do feel in my gut though that this is an opportunity where they really prove that they're stable, they're a good physical team. And even off of a game like that, they can come out and get a win. So I'm looking to see them do it. I'm rooting for it. Probably not betting it, but I think and hope they will.
It's going to be difficult. I'm just so disappointed. The Giants, it was kind of cool. Like, all right, for a little bit, it was you either get a top 10 pick or the playoffs, and it's still kind of there, right? If they win and the Washington Football Club loses, they go back into first place. Don't look now. I think you can get the Eagles at plus 700 to win the division. So if you want to put a few shekels on that, honestly, that's probably where I would put my money at this point, because the Giants. Say it again.
You say mortgage or shekels?
I did not. No mortgage here. No mortgage here, my friend. I wouldn't do that. Sticks Picks is the mortgage better here, not me. Yeah, I would put my money on the Eagles at plus. I think it was 5 to 700, somewhere around there, to win the division. Because the Washington Football Club most likely doesn't have a quarterback. Alex Smith, I assume, will be back at some point. I did read a report earlier today, and we talked about it. Obviously, he hasn't been ruled out. Pretty confident he's not going to play, though. Obviously, Daniel Jones, sprained ankle and hamstring strain, not looking great. I know you guys think that they are better with Colt McCoy, but I can't agree with you. Daniel Jones, by being able to move the pocket and actually run, like, he is almost more reliant on his legs than Lamar Jackson is in certain situations, and that at least adds that extra element. What we saw was the Giants turn the ball over twice, and immediately after, first, I do want to say I did call the Marcus Golden revenge game. And I texted, I did call the Marcus Golden revenge game. So watch out. I did say it very tongue-in-cheek. And what was it? Second play of scrimmage, he comes out and has a fumble, forced fumble on Daniel Jones. So if the Giants turn the ball over, they lose. And it's like almost as clear as day. So when Daniel Jones turns the ball over, they lose. If he doesn't, they win. It's like the craziest thing in the world, right? So I do believe the Giants are better with Daniel Jones, but my God, I don't know, man. This is such a weird game. I can't believe lines makers think that little of Daniel Jones, or even an injured Daniel Jones, that even if he goes out, that might also be an interesting way to look at it. I'm talking in circle here for a fella, but listen to me for a second. Maybe they already knew Daniel Jones was hurt, and the line only opened at 4. Now it seems a little fishy, huh?
I mean,
I'm talking myself into some shit right now, but it seems a little fishy. I don't know. I think the Browns win. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think there's any backdoors here, John. Don't worry. But I don't know. It's a little too close for me. A little too close for comfort.
Here's the thing. If Baker hadn't been so good the last few weeks, I mean, just against the Ravens, he passed for 343 yards and 2 touchdowns. If you have the threat of Baker throwing it downfield, and you have the threat of, like, you've got Hunt and Chubb, you've got play action, like, as good as the Giants defense is, and it's pretty good, like, you can't stop both of those things. So if Baker is 70% of the quarterback he was just a few days ago, and you have that running game, I just don't know, like, how the Giants can match what the Browns are going to do offensively.
Yeah, I don't. Colt McCoy is not going to be able to match that. It's going to be kind of sad, actually. All right, last game. We have the Steelers. We have the Bengals. Steelers, losers of 2 in a row. Could we say the worst 11-0 team ever? I wouldn't say it, but some people are saying it. We have the Steelers on the road, favored by 13 points, 12.5 in some places as well. So it started at 12, up to 12.5, 13, depending on where you're looking. 75% of the bets are coming in. So the tickets are coming in 3/4 on the Steelers. 90% of the money coming in on the Bengals, getting a little of that reverse line movement. You love to see it. You love to see it. Tipton, last game, we'll start with you. How do you feel about the Steelers? -12, -12.5, -13 on the road against the Brandon Allen-led Bengals.
I think a Steelers receiver just dropped a pass. Hold on.
Which one? Was it Deontay Johnson again?
Probably. Yeah, let me gather my thoughts. Speaking of get right spots, right? This should be one for Pittsburgh. But here we have another situation where this game is not buried into the massive 1 o'clocks and 4 o'clock. So this is bailout city for every loser on the weekend is going to go looking to lay double digits with Pittsburgh in this get right spot. And they may or may not know that Pittsburgh's 4-19 as a road favorite of 8 or more since 1990. So that's not something I want to get behind in a faux get right spot on a Monday night game. So
divisional
this
game.
Line, divisional game, especially if this thing, I see 13 right now. If it sticks at 13, it doesn't ever make it over 14. That should be a nice indicator that, smack your hand if you want to go and try to bail yourself out laying those double digits. I don't like the game, obviously. It's just not a good spot to, I don't know. I'm not going to put my money on the Bengals. I don't think. I'll try to do what I say. Depends on what happens over the weekend. Good thing I'm not a professional, or that would be bad to say. But I don't know. This is not a good scenario. I can see how this one is going to take shape here. I've seen this movie 1,000 times. I'm going to watch the line here. If it stays under 14, again, I may slide and put some beer money on the Bengals. If it goes over, maybe that changes my point of view on Pittsburgh. But I think we've all thought they've been a bit of a shell of themselves. Their schedule has been nothing to write home about. They're getting injured more by the minute. I don't really have a play at the moment. I want to watch that line move, but I just put a big old buyer beware sign on this game.
I like that. And one thing we have the I guess it's like the proverbial what is it? The immovable objects against the unstoppable force. The Bengals, you can run all over them, and the Steelers can't figure out how to run the ball. So which one breaks, right? Do the Steelers figure it out, or do the Bengals figure it out? And I'm really curious to see, because I do have James Conner in a couple season-long teams, and I'm not considering playing him, but I'm definitely considering playing him. I'm not going to do it, but I'm considering playing him. Thankfully, it's the Monday night game, so I'm going to leave him out. But see ya. Steelers on the road, almost 2 touchdown favorites. I mean, how many points, honestly, how many points maximum do you think the Bengals can even score in a game? Just any game. This Bengals offense, how many points? No Joe Mixon, no Joe Burrow. You have Brandon Allen and Ryan Finley. They kind of keep flip-flopping. You have Giovanni Bernard might even be out again. I honestly have no idea. Yeah, the receivers are great, but if no one's throwing to him, who the hell cares? Honest to God, how many points do you think this Bengals offense could score, just in general?
Against this defense, who are down a couple of guys, and knowing that they have a lot of good receivers. I mean, AJ Green had a nice game. We know T. Higgins is good, and Boyd is solid. I think they can score 17 points against the Steelers defense. I don't expect it. I expect more like 13, but they can score 17.
So the Steelers would need to score 28. The Steelers would need to score 30 points to cover the spread. You kind of break it down like that. I don't think this Bengals offense can score points, and I feel like the Steelers could score 4 touchdowns against this Bengals defense, right?
It's the ultimate get-right spot. There's no question about that for Pittsburgh. I mean, everybody thinks they are completely fraudulent, and Mike Tomlin's not going to have that. So if he can put his foot on the pedal, he's going to put his foot on the pedal, if for nothing else, to motivate his own team. So that's why this is more of a stay away. Like, honestly, like we mentioned Sticks Picks, Nick Bretwish, like maybe we'll find some props, the Win Daily team to bet. Like, maybe I'll tell you what, I had James Washington first touchdown last Pittsburgh game. I had the Steelers too, but I had $20 on James Washington at 28-1 because I just thought there was value there. And it was an awesome hit. I was super happy about it. So I'll probably be looking at those types of angles. But if I had to bet this, I'm taking the Bengals.
Damn. It's a lot, man. It's a lot. I don't want to touch it. It's Monday night, so I might. But yeah, I'm way more interested in those props and seeing what we can do there because Sticks has been absolutely incredible this year with the props. Just went on his bachelor party. It was a lot of fun. I wasn't there, but I could tell he had a lot of fun. So we appreciate him there. But Tipton, this was a lot of fun too. We appreciate you coming back, hanging out with us for round 2. I mean, obviously we have a couple more weeks through the year. We then are going to have a lot of playoff weeks. So that's going to be fun. I can't see a reason why we're not going to continue to do this show all the way up until the end of January and at least have something fun. I don't get that. I don't know. You'll have to explain it. Can you explain that to me? See, I'm sorry.
It's a fantasy football league joke. This league that I'm in with Tipton, we actually go to Vegas to do our draft. There's that Thursday night game, that signature Thursday night game to kick off the season. We do our draft Wednesday night in whatever hotel we pick in Vegas. This year we didn't do it because of COVID, but Tipton has actually never made that trip. He has certain obligations at home, but we, I think, are going to twist his arm and make sure he gets there in 2021. So that's where that line, minus 170, Tipton not showing up to Vegas next year. By the way, and that's hilarious, by the way. So Tipton is sort of infamous for his college bowl season picks, and I know he might be contributing a little bit to Win Daily. We've talked about that this week on sort of like the betting side of things from just an actual like writing content standpoint. But for bowl season, if we could do a show with Tipton coming in, talking to it, I know some games are getting canceled, of course, but maybe when that roster or that schedule comes out, Tipton, if you could come back on with us and just maybe talk through some of the games that you're keeping an eye on and that kind of thing.
No, I want every single game, Tipton. I'm going to ask you for every single game. How does that sound?
Let's do it.
We could probably actually get like a Win Daily Sports Pick'em too, right? We could probably just set that up somewhere. I can't see why not.
Tipton, what was your bowl record that one year where you just kind of blew it out of the park?
I'll see if I remember 30-7.
Let me. I remember what it is pretty quickly. I love it. I love it. Something that I will say, Tipton, I do have a parlay for all of the championship games. I know this is not how you're supposed to bet, but it's just too much fun.
It's fun.
I have Ohio State covering, Cincinnati money line, Bama covering. Who else? Clemson money line, and then who's the fourth? And then Oklahoma money line. And I think that ends up. It's some pretty sweet numbers. Put like $5 on that bad boy, and you're getting like I think like 70 or 80 back. So
lock.
Very excited. Yes, absolute lock of the century. I really hope the one thing that ruins it is Ohio State just loses outright to the Big Ten West Northwestern. What do you got?
Well, before we let Tipton go, and I know he already told us this. He sort of dives in the whole week and he makes his picks depending on line movement sometimes too. And so this is super early. But Tipton, is there a game just right off the bat? Maybe you haven't even looked at the lines yet in college for this weekend. But is there a game right off the bat that you saw and you were like, oh, I think I might keep my eye on this particular team?
The only one I'm really sort of gravitating towards right now is Clemson. just exacting some revenge from that midseason loss. I've seen Notre Dame look real good and then go and play a powerhouse in a bowl game and just get absolutely thrashed. So, championship game, bowl game, let's see the thing here. I think that opened 10.5. I think that's what I heard today. I haven't looked really yet, but
I saw it at 7.5, I think, somewhere around there. That's where I saw it like last week or something. So could be wrong.
Yeah. Clemson in general, to answer your question, Clemson's already got my gut's already leaning that way. So if everything else falls into place, I'm not going to feel bad about putting a nice few units on Clemson to exact some revenge there.
I love it. That is awesome. So John Norrell,
yes,
get that money back. Get that money back. Put your money on Clemson. You heard it here first, folks. Put your mortgage on Clemson this week. Also, just wanted to bring this up. Casey, thank you for this. Baker threw the longest pass in NFL history on the throw. I actually, while we were talking, I looked it up, and it's true. Baker Mayfield legitimately threw the longest pass in NFL history on that Hail Mary. I thought it went far, but like I'm looking at SB Nation right now. Absolutely insane. Total flight, 70.5 yards. The only thing that was different, Patrick Mahomes threw a 78-yard Hail Mary at his pro day prior to the NFL draft. And
doesn't count.
Yeah, it doesn't count. But that's insane. Shout out.
Nothing at pro days count, by the way, including 40 times, because they're always embellished by whoever's doing the time versus like the combine, for example.
I mean, home field advantage. Come on. Give it to me.
Exactly. The line is 10.5. That Notre Dame with Clemson line.
Oh wait, no, I think I got it at 7. So I took the money line at 7, so it actually wasn't too bad. So I'll take it.
All right.
Yeah, even better. Better. Opening at 7, crossing over 10, throwing the hook out there, and from what I can tell, it's not Notre Dame's going to attract some action. So I don't think we're going to be in a situation where Clemson is so one-sided. And so I'll probably buy off that hook if it stays there. Take it at an even 10 and feel pretty comfortable with it. Sleep like a baby after I put it in, actually.
Yeah, of course, because that's how those work, don't they? Sia with his teasers every week. All right, hour 40 show, guys. I mean, we have the full slate of football, so that's why we do this a little bit longer. Obviously, we have our friend Sia will tease it. Thank you, John. Yes, we have our friend Eric Tipton here. Tipton, where can everybody find you online in case they want to follow you or interact with you a little bit more?
Yeah, my plays are on Twitter. Still Charlotte Sports, my handicap and moniker, but at eTip11. Don't get my patented analysis. I used to love to throw a diatribe out there or two behind my picks, but obviously that's limited by character. So it's just the picks for the most part, but that's where they're at if you want to view them.
Love it. See, where can everybody find you on the internet?
So at Sia Najad on Twitter, at Sia Najad Sports on Instagram. And by the way, tomorrow at 5:00 on CBS Fantasy Football Today, I'll be on with Adam Azar answering some start-sit questions. So they have their own little Twitter page. So if you go there, you can catch it. It'll be on Twitch, I think.
I love it, man. You're just gonna shine. You're just going to be so much more attractive. I don't even know what those guys look like, but you are really upping the attractiveness on that show. So we appreciate you. Thank you, Sia, for doing what you do. You can find me at Michael Brazil 1. You can find us at Win Daily Sports. If you want to come hang out in our instant messenger chat where we talk about sports and help you win money, windailysports.com/chat. It's a little app called Discord. I promise you olds out there, it's not that hard. We can all figure it out. Sia did. Sicily Kid did. That dude's like 100. He figured it out. So I don't feel that bad about it. So make sure windailysports.com/chat. Thank you again to Manscaped. As you can see, manscaped.com. Use promo code WINDAILY. You get 20% off and free shipping. Shave your balls, everybody. It's the holiday season. What more could you ask for? For Tipton, for Sia, for myself, for the Win Daily Sports family, and for everybody in the chat. We always appreciate each and every one of you. We hope you make it a very profitable week 15 of the NFL.
Sports.